So, the latest order in the Vodafone matter clearly is an example for telecom companies and will have broader implications on this entire sector. What are your thoughts on this particular order and what it says about government intervention when it comes to the AGR disputes?
So I was appearing in this matter in the beginning also. Unfortunately, I was not appearing either for Vodafone or for Airtel. And my client had a very limited issue and they were really wanting to, because the court was on fire at that point of time. So they used to basically ask me to watch the brief unless if something comes on that client specifically, then only to open my mouth. Because I felt that the way the case was handled by the Supreme Court, there was a lot to be desired. The matter used to be listed on a day when it was not supposed to be listed. Suddenly, the judge used to call this matter out. And the whole tenor of the proceeding were as if that, government is giving up its dues on Vodafone and AGR. And for that reason, it was as if held that no, you can't give up these dues, as if the matter was in public interest. Now, when you analyze the telecom sector is a very unique sector where today it has been considered by the government to be a milking cow. But actually, it's a sector which provides infrastructure to the people of India. It's like providing a highway. You provide a highway, the purpose is not to earn from the highway. The purpose is to provide access to people so that physical transportation takes place smoothly in the country, and industry automatically gets benefited. Similarly, when you talk of telecom is also like a highway. You provide access to people on this platform, and they can, by this exchange of their data and voice, they are able to do a business much better. People, when they talk of this dues, etc., and consider that this is a huge demand of the government, they forget the days when we used to grapple for firstly getting a phone. We used to, of course, now the present generation would not know. The generation which is in their 20s and 30s will not remember all that. But of all of us remember, we used to have to either get a MP's this thing or a OIT phone or something or the other, and then great difficulty get a telephone. When you get a telephone, the problem didn't end there. Connecting on the telephone was the second challenge. We used to, when we were in, something urgent had to be talked to somewhere, lightning calls used to be booked. And that lightning call also used to wait till, sometime for hours together to connect. Now, government at that point of time was not in a position to invest in the telecom sector. And it is for that reason that they brought in the private sector. So it was not as if the private sector was brought in because they were wanting to, sort of make money out of this sector. And if you see the 5-year plans around that time, prior to 95 or even earlier, telecom has always been considered to be an infrastructure for the purposes of, investment. So private sector players were brought in. Now, when this particular case was going on, again, I was constrained because my client didn't want me to argue this. But when the first license was given to Vodafone and Airtel, if I remember correctly, sometime in 95, they had bid for these licenses with a huge amount of premium. And the installments started, they were not able to pay because they had to do a lot of investments, and the investments were not yielding the results. And accordingly, they started defaulted. So when they defaulted, if I remember correctly, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the prime minister and Soli Sorabji was the attorney general. Something very unprecedented happened there. The unprecedented thing happening was that instead of cancelling this tender, because these were all defaulting companies and they were not able to pay the license dues, they decided to change a concluded tender from whatever they had bid for to a revenue share model. They said, instead of asking our pound of flesh here and making these companies sick, better to have a revenue share model where we will earn revenue on the basis of whatever the revenue is, obtained in the business. And this was something which is very unprecedented, never happened in this country. And unfortunately, I would say, because of the credibility of Mr. Vajpayee and the then Solicitor Attorney, Mr. Sorabji, nobody questioned their motives. In today's scenario, everybody would start questioning such motives. That how would you, rewrite a concluded contract? And why was it not retendered? And why was this same contract continued? Now, when the revenue share model came, and this was the revenue which was supposed to be generated out of telecom business. The question arose whether revenue out of telecom business or other ancillary business of the company also is to be taken for the purpose of AGR. And that is the dispute which was there before the Supreme Court. In my view, there was no way by which the court could have said that you recover revenue from other businesses also, because it was meant to be only telecom business. But the court was acting very funny, saying that I'll send you to jail and I'll send the officers to jail and I'll send the managing directors of these companies to jail. And lo and behold, this order, huge order was passed, huge demand was claimed. Now, the attempt appears to be, and I'm not trying to impute motives, the beneficiary in all this was the Geo, because Geo didn't have any AGR hangover, because it had started for the new company which had come in. So it was the real beneficiary in this whole, deciding this huge AGR demand against Airtel and Vodafone. And what we see today, Jio is one of the biggest companies in the telecom sector. So if the Supreme Court today has permitted the government to, go ahead and rewrite the contract or to give up the dues, maybe because of the justification that they are owning 49% or whatever be the reason, I think it's a very, very right decision. And in fact, if I were to take a conscious call on this, and with this background of telecom being infrastructure and not a milking cow, I think Airtel also requires to get some benefit out of this order. Although the order doesn't say so, order only limits it to Vodafone because of the special facts of Vodafone, because they are, they are being controlled 49% by the government today. But it is very important that more at least three telecom companies, three major players remain in the market, because who will be the loser ultimately when this when you consider this as a highway, and when you consider this to be a facility for the citizens of this country to use this highway, to use this infrastructure to facilitate them in doing their business. If you permit some kind of a monopoly or a duopoly, then ultimate sufferers will be the people of this country. It's like taking from one pocket and putting it in the other. So people will pay for the higher services if there is not enough competition. And the purpose for which you have created this highway will ultimately be defeated, because if I know that this service is available at a very reasonable price, then I'll be able to do more business out of it. Just consider a highway with a toll. If you start, putting a very high amount on the toll, people will start using those village roads and stop using the highway, and ultimately the whole purpose of making the highway will be defeated. So it's something like that. So people should be having this telecom facility, accessible facility, so that they can use it more and more people can use it. The common man can use it, and it can help the common man in using this service to facilitate his business, whether it be data transfer or whether it be voice transfer. Both ultimately will be beneficial to the people of this country. So I think there's a very welcome order, and it should have come much earlier.